Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. I'm going to address a video that was made, directed at me by this guy who calls himself an urban explorer. The video is this one, Flat Earth question, curve slash slope difference. So I'm going to respond to that video, but just give a bit of background here. I find it very interesting that this guy is an anti-flat earther. He really doesn't like flat earth, and more recently has been making more and more videos going against flat earth, defending his belief in the globe. We did interact a few years ago, and he seemed to just have some genuine questions at that time, and I answered those questions, assuming that he's the kind of person that would eventually realize that we're not on a globe, or he'd realize the globe lie. And this is simply because of the nature of his channel, which is, he's obviously an aware person. He uses his right to film the police, and he's quite active in that area. You can see here he's got a video about chemtrails, or his questioning of them. He knows that they are not natural clouds. So more recently, though, he's gone to join up as part of Team Wolfie 6020. Even got himself a sticker from Wolfie to stick on his boat there. And he, at that time, was just a few days ago, saying that he was going to do an experiment. He was going to go off in his kayak a couple of miles down or across a river, and make an observation of curvature, but that hasn't come about yet. Anyway, let's have a look at, as I said, this is the video. This one here is the one that he poses the question to me, or ponders my question to him, shall we say. But it's this video, Flat Earth Debunked Again, which kind of set everything off. So we'll start there.
Itself, the 3 metre drop.
Let's just go back to where are we here? So basically, he's what he's going to demonstrate here is that he's going to throw in this stick, and we'll see that the stick goes downriver, basically demonstrating that the river is flowing. So there you go. And the point he makes at the end of it is that he's at a place that is of a higher elevation than 5 miles down river. Basically, there is a 3 meter difference in the elevation of where he threw the stick in the water. Down river 5 miles is a drop of 3 meters, basically creating that flow of water. Now, what occurred to me when I looked at this video was his complete misunderstanding of what flat earth means. I explain it later on, but let's just see how he perceives what flat earth is.
The earth is flat, right? Now this is the point we need to get to. If the earth is flat, so that's all the earth there, right? You've just witnessed for yourself a 3 metre drop. So from Biddulph to, say, Willington, not to scale of course, it drops 3 metres. So it is dropping exactly as I described in my kayak, right? So if it's dropping towards sea level, which it does, it's going to do that over the course of its journey across central England. If the earth was flat, at the discharge point into the sea at the Humber estuary, yeah, you would have cliffs 241 metres high, because according to you idiots, the earth is flat between the Midlands all the way across to the coastline. I will challenge anybody to go to the discharge point at the Humber estuary and tell me, or you go and video or take photographs or screen grabs of the Humber estuary and you tell me if you can see a cliff 241 metres tall. You won't. Therefore, the Earth is not flat. England is not flat. There. Idiots trying to convince us otherwise. Now you debunk that one. You flat Earth morons.
Okay, so yeah, we can see here that he's assumed that flat Earth is a literal term to mean that we assume that the Earth is completely, flat, like this, when in fact no one denies that there is mountainous, hilly terrain, there are high places and low places, and water will flow downhill. So I did, in the comments section, hopefully that will come up, address this, and you see I said here, oh my god, I've just realised how literally you take the term flat Earth. Bloody hell mate, nobody is denying that there are hills and that water flows downhill from a high elevation to a lower elevation. Do you really think after all these years we all imagine a totally flat plane like a sheet of paper? Flat Earth means not a spinning ball. So then, now that we all agree and know that water flows downhill, could you demonstrate the difference between a curve and a slope and show us at what point water does not flow down a curved ball? Thanks. Now, if you're a flat earther, you'll understand exactly why I ask this question. It's not a trick question, it's simply to get someone who doesn't get flat Earth to think about what should happen at the horizon if we are led to believe that the horizon is due to curvature. So his response was this. Nick, what causes the water in the river to flow downhill, please? Any river, actually, as we now agree on at least one point. Your followers and commenters on your channel have been over here and said water looks to find its own level. So part two of my question is, why isn't the sea the same level as the river 100 miles inshore if the world is flat? Surely if the water is looking to find its own level and both the sea and the river have been in place for say 2,000 years, the point of equilibrium would have been reached by now. I look forward to your response. And my short response was, does water flowing prove we live on a spinning ball? When is a curve not a curve anymore? Yeah, so, all right, let's just address that question, that when we say that water seeks its level, it's basically, it will conform to the inside of a container, and the surface of that water will be flat and level. If you tip the water, and it is allowed to go over the lip of the container, then it will flow down, or the container wall is taken away, then of course that water will flow. And again, it will seek its level once it gets to a lower point, and then if there's more and more water, it will fill up until it is completely level. Basically, the point is that water does not bend around a curve without flowing. Water will flow down a curve or down a slope. It's simply that, this, which we do agree on, this law of physics which dictates that water will flow downhill, as is illustrated here. It was just that he totally misunderstood that flat earthers are saying the earth is totally flat with no hills, and so hopefully that's clarified that, and this is the source of the question. He did do another video, there's a couple of other videos I've commented on, but basically the same thing, that you know, if you're showing that water flows and it flows downhill, then what is the difference between a curve and a slope or a hill or any kind of declination? So what happens is this is the video in response to that question, and we'll hear what he has to say, and it's very interesting to see how he and other anti-flat earthers perceive flat earthers, especially when we respond with these kinds of questions. again, flat earthers will understand why we are asking those questions, is because we've asked those questions of ourselves until we realize that we have been deceived by being taught to or programmed to ignore reality, especially when it comes to water, in order to believe that we live on a physically impossible globe on which water should magically stick to that globe on the outside and bend. Anyway, this is a 30-minute long video, but I'm just going to address a couple of sections in that he talks about this particular question. So, flat earth question, curve, slope, difference.
Hopefully Nick from Pooké Word will be along, but if not, I'll leave this video up until which time maybe you do see it.
Okay, just need to skip a bit.
Been getting very heated between the wolf and Nick. Very heated indeed. I'm going to do my best to refrain from hurling insults at anybody. Can't be guaranteed that I won't, but I shall try. Dealing with flat earthers is not easy. My brain feels like a bowl of scrambled eggs after a week of watching flat earth videos. I wasn't going to watch them last night, but I did. I fell for it and I watched some. Oh dear.
Okay, so it's obviously triggered his interest, flat earth, and it kind of boggles his mind. As he said, it makes his brain feel like scrambled eggs. And yeah, we all know that feeling. We all know the kind of roller coaster ride and the mind mess that happens when we start really looking seriously into our globe earth belief and the possibility that we're not on a globe, and that the earth is indeed a level stationary plane with hills and dips and troughs and what have you. Yeah. So let's just move on to the 3-minute mark here.
Nick asked me a question which was completely unrelated to either the video or the question that I posed to him or a reply that I made to him. But in typical flat earther fashion, this is what those people do. They will twist and manipulate words in an attempt to hoodwink you when they're faced with a question that they don't like the sound of, or if they know they're going to answer it honestly, it would undo everything they believe in. Wolfie 6020 is all too well aware of how these people operate.
Yeah, this is the impression he has, and I'm sorry, it's wrong. This isn't about trying to trip people up, or asking trick questions. He clearly thinks I'm trying to lead him into answering something that will make him look stupid. But it's not. It's simply an attempt to get him to think. Is there a difference between a river flowing downhill or flowing down a curve? Basically a slope and a curve or downhill, it's all the same thing. So the whole idea is to get you to think about this and think about the whole idea of curvature. If we are told that we live on an earth that has curvature, then where is the point that water stops flowing down a curve or a slope? Yeah. So this is really kind of doing his head in because he thinks it's a trick question, and it's not. So we'll just carry on listening. See.
Nick asked me, what is the difference between a curve and a slope? Now you'd think that was quite an easy one to answer, wouldn't you? But what you've got to remember is you're dealing with flat earthers. And like I say, flat earthers speak in riddles. So I've had to think, how is he expecting me to answer that question and trip myself up, which is what he wants. But rather than do that, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about me. Right. I might look stupid. I might act stupid sometimes. But I'd like to think I ain't that stupid.
Yeah, as I said, I think this guy is a smart bloke. He gets a lot of things. So again, my question was not any attempt to embarrass, shame, or it was just an attempt to try to get you thinking in a way that would make you realize that a slope and a curve aren't the same. So are the same. Now his background is, but he talks about working on motorways and the surveying that goes into making roads that have slopes and inclines, and he does mention that there's a machine that's used that doesn't take curvature into account, but this is all in his attempt to say that all right, he knows about curves and slopes. He's worked in that kind of industry where surveying is required to know about slopes in roads. But he basically comes to the conclusion himself, let's just go, I think it's about 1340.
So setting out the centre line of a slip road off a dual carriageway or off a motorway, then that curve goes up or down a slope at the same time as being a curve. So where, Nick, what's the trick behind your question? Because you never ask somebody a question that you want a straight and honest answer to. Because straightness and honesty in your world, yeah, there's Canberra as well, UK Freedom Audits. It's about 25 mil.
Okay, yeah, it's not a trick question. You've answered it. Basically, a slope and a curve are the same thing. So again, take that realization, that knowledge, and apply it to the idea that the horizon is curvature, but water doesn't flow down that curve. Now what he mentions here is also really significant because he talks about the camber in a road, basically a road not being totally flat across the surface because it has to allow the water to flow off it when it rains.
Per metre of carriageway, and that allows the water to be shed across the motorway, across the tarmac. So on a motorway you would have something like 750 mil of rock, then you'd have, gosh, I'm going back a lot of years here, and then you'd have say 400 or 500 mil of type 2 MOT type 2 stone, and then you'd have 3 layers of tarmac. You'd have a base course of tarmac, can't even remember what the middle course was, and the top layer of tarmac, which is about 40 mil thick, would be called the wearing course. And if you have a flat road, the water's just going to sit on it and not run away. So you have to put in, like Freedom Audits just said, you have to put a camber on it. Sometimes you can have an adverse camber where it's going round a curve and the camber drops off with the curve. Pretty dangerous, that. your vehicle's sliding off the road, and that's why you have a sign on the road that says adverse camber, because the road will be, what's it? Yeah, camber and crown. That's where the crown of the road would be in the middle. So you'd have a camber one side and a camber on the other. And on British motorways, certainly when I used to work on them, the fall from the centre line to the edge of carriageway would be 1 inch, 25 mil per metre. So next time you're driving along the road and you think you're driving along nice and level, just think to yourself, that road is actually sloping away from you mostly towards the outside of the road. So I do have a little bit of background knowledge. I'm not as stupid as I look. I probably couldn't set a road out these days because, you know, I've lost the thing in my mind, you know, that would be able to even operate this machinery. So Nick, hopefully that's an answer to your question. There's got to be a trick. I can't work out the trick that you've had. There's got to be a twist to that question, Nick. There always is with you.
Yeah, it's not a trick. Well, it is a trick question because all it's getting you to do is to get out of this mentality and see things for how they are, using your practical experience that water will flow down a curve or a slope or whatever you want to call it, downhill or a camber. Yeah? That is all I'm asking you to do. There is no trick. It really is as simple as that, because you take this practical, real world physics and then you try to apply that to the globe idea. That when we look across to the horizon, we are told that the horizon is the limit to how far we can see across the surface, because it is a curve, and it should be a curve downwards, because wherever you are on a globe, you're on top. So we should be seeing water go down the curve, and of course it doesn't. And this is it. That is all there is to the question. There is nothing deceptive about it. It is to realize the way we compartmentalize things and are deceived into believing that we live on a globe, even though the physics of water demonstrates to us on any scale that it's impossible that the Earth is curved. And hence my earlier question, when does water not flow down a curve or a slope or an incline? Yeah? In fact, okay, we'll just, he produces a piece of paper and let's just go to it.
We'll answer a question, if he answers a question at all. A slope is straight. Right, let me try and get my head around that. A slope is straight. Demonstration. Straight slope. Pointing downwards. Now it's curved. And it's still pointing downwards. So it's a curved slope. Yes, a curve does have a radius. It has a radius point, doesn't it? Thank you for that, Neil. Do you see what I'm getting at here, Neil? With the way, with the word, the question, it seems dead easy, but it's not. Right, I'm going to let this roll. I think I've answered that question now.
Yeah, you have. You answered it. And you answered it truthfully. And that was all I was doing is to realize that a slope and a curve are the same thing. And so there is no curve on the Earth. It's simply impossible. The Earth isn't a globe. And I hope you see that question for what it is, to urge you to make a real-life comparison with an imaginary model of an Earth that puts us in space, going around the sun, and has to be a globe because of the presupposition that we're going around the sun in order to have a transition between day and night. That's really all it is. So I hope that helps. And again, there's no ill will here. We all understand why people don't like flat earthers, because beliefs are being challenged. And unfortunately, when that happens to us people, then we go on the defensive. And you can see here that he was on the defensive because he was assuming that I was trying to trip him up and trick him. But no, it's just an attempt to share the methodology in order to realize for yourself that it's impossible for us to be on a globe, a spinning one at that. All right, thank you very much.